Welcome to Exploring AI Frontiers with Coastal Sun. As a global AI consulting firm, blending agentic AI and human centered design, we are building the next autonomous AI agents and quantum aligned strategy with deep human centric design ethos. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Abhineet Sood, who is currently the Deputy Director for the Process Excellence and Business Transformation at PepsiCo. With a remarkable career at leading global AI firms such as Accenture, ZS, and Tech Mahindra, Abhineet has led multi-million dollar transformation across finance, CPG, life sciences, supply chain, and technology sectors. He is deeply passionate about value realization through an automation first approach, helping enterprises reimagine their operating models and future proof their transformation strategies. His current focus is on building scalable Gen AI deployments and shaping the next era of business innovation through agentic AI. So, let's begin our session today on the topic how AI is transforming business operations and redefining the future leaders. Welcome, Abhineet. Welcome to the session.
Thank you so much, Namrata. And I don't see people who have joined the call, but I hope there are a lot of folks who are already logged in. Uh,
Yes.
so, Welcome everyone, and I hope to share my experience, my past 12 years of consulting experience I have gained where I worked across firms, clients, and share some very critical nuances, or I would say things which we all should focus on, and we'll try to keep it conversational. I think, Namrata, you would want to ask certain questions if you have, and then accordingly we can pass it on to the audience, or if you want to set the context, maybe take a next 30 seconds and then we get started. Welcome everyone, thank you for joining first of all.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. This is very conversational, and our audience are very much interested in knowing about your future experiences, what are your talks, and your insights. So, starting with the first question, Abhineet, like you have led automation and AI initiatives across diverse sectors, right? Like from CPG to the life sciences. So,
Right.
what patterns or common challenges that you have observed when embedding AI into the core business operations?
No, I think you're starting with a question which I get asked quite often, right? So, and when you have worked across industries, it's not just the ones which you mentioned. I started my career actually with telco when I worked with Tech Mahindra, right? So, since that time, if I look at my journey, right, y- and what I've seen is you when you work across these segments or sectors, functions, businesses, you start noticing some universal patterns which comes together, whether it's around AI, whether it's process automation, and how they play a key role in the core operations of the enterprise, right? One of the biggest challenges I've seen is, and maybe I'll talk about couple of them, what comes to mind, but is the proof of concept, like a POC trap, if I may put it, right? Like firms start with a lot of enthusiasm, set up their COEs, run a few POCs, but then they hit a wall. Now, what I've seen working across transformation engagements is this happens primarily because the impact which they are thinking, the alignment is not there, the data readiness is not there, or even if the, I mean, if I think of it, there's no specific change management communication plan how you want to build these to a scalable solution, right? So that's those are the few things, because it's not about tech alone, right? You need to consider all these things and get out of that proof of concept mindset. Of course, start small, scale big is the mantra which we also promote, but then how do you scale? You need these systems, ecosystem, and all these things in place, right? The second is, uh, and we see this in biggest of the organizations, right? The ownership dilemma, right? Or I call it ownership fog, which is basically, it's, is it an AI, is AI an IT initiative, is it a business led initiative, or it should sit in that center of excellence which has been set up to drive this transformation, right? So those typical teams should be there, but it should not be that who owns what, right? So you should have clear roles and responsibilities to have a successful program with cross functional ownership between all these teams, right? And then the third one, which everyone at times fears also, is the fear factor, if I call it, right? Because, and this happens in the traditional sectors because people have been working in a traditional way, legacy organizations, systems are in place, nobody wants to change the way the things are happening. But what I feel is that this is where this change management and doing a successful POC, so all these things come together, and clients agree that this is not only tech, but the real effort needs to be what should I say, put in building this trust and confidence in the new AI solutions or technologies, right? So these are common patterns, if I or the challenges which, if you ask me, right, across industries, across organizations I've seen.
That is absolutely true. I mean, like, normally these, as you said, like you considered it's a fog, ownership fog or something you said. I mean, that's absolutely true. And I think you have described in one of your writings that AI as a child that we are rising, and that is
Yeah.
something that grows, learns, and evolves with us. So, like,
Yes.
how is your current role at PepsiCo shaped your understanding of AI potential in large scale operations? Like, can you share your example that where actually AI has made the measurable impact?
Sure. And I may not cover exactly the use case from my current organization due to
Yes,
obvious
yes,
reasons,
yes.
but I will probably talk about, like, before this I was primarily in a consulting kind of roles, right, where the automation project delivery or maybe the process mining work which we are doing for multiple clients was from a discovery to a delivery journey was never done, right? So either you were part of the initial scoping exercise, building the business case, proposing those solutions to the client, or you came in later when the value prop had to be presented to the clients, right? So what I've seen, and when I talk about my current role also, I can talk about it in terms of how that is different, because here you are driving things end to end. You want to actually build relationships, understand the process nuances, and then design the solutions, right, which are not just scalable but also stick with the business teams you are working with, because you are more ingrained in the system. You are not coming as an outside consultant and just giving them a point of view, or giving them a high end view of where the North Star vision is, but it's more about walk the talk with your business, right? So that's the kind of journey or how that role has shaped. Now, since the time we have joined here, one thing is clear, that AI has huge potential, of course. If
Absolutely.
you're looking at, if you're not looking at it from an isolation standpoint, right? So if you're looking at a process, those solutions need to be embedded in the process. And that's why I think this team, which we are part of, process excellence and transformation, as we call it, or automation, it is like a golden thread, right? It stitches things together across these tech people, business, or maybe even the new consultant we bring in to deliver a specific value for a business case. So that is one thing. But if you ask me a recent example, I would say this was for a life sciences company prior to my PepsiCo days, where they were facing inefficiencies in their order to cash process, and within that, especially the accounts receivable process. Now, there could be pending payments which are due from your customers, which are, I mean, you are of course trying to get as much money as quickly as possible, but there were incorrect payment terms which were getting applied to those invoices, right? So what you do is, and this is where the magic, if I say, of Celonis, which is process mining, and AI came into picture, right? So process mining helped us discover those inefficiencies, identified those root causes, bottlenecks which were resulting in the delay in accounts receivable process. But eventually we also build an ML model to be able to determine which customer type, or which customer, or maybe the type of invoices, the type of orders for which the invoices were getting delayed, and then built a machine learning model to predict that okay, these kind of invoices would get delayed, and then you start your collections process, your journey to solve or get the money as fast as possible. So those are the kind of things, and we saw considerable thing improvement, right? Because you asked for a measurable. I have your questions in front of me, so I'm just re-looking at them. So I'm just typing it as you ask, right? So for this one, I think we resulted in nearly 40% payment terms correctly applied in just 2 months, right? So you can see the impact in just 2 months of building these solution. We were able to deliver 40% benefit to the client.
That is very nice. It's very good to know.
Yeah.
Based on that, sir, I mean, like, my next question would be like, as you said, like, these startups and everything, like the small organizations who are doing a very big impact, they often lack it. Like, many organizations struggle to move beyond the pilots and
Mhm.
scale AI successfully. Like, from your experience, can you like give us what are the key enablers that help the companies or startups that navigate this scale efficiently, or like how to leverage AI in their companies efficiently?
Okay. So yeah, if I understood, you're asking if what are the struggle, why many organizations struggle to scale, and then
Yes.
what could be the things they do differently so that they are
Yes, exactly.
successful in scaling, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So if I look at it, and yes, this is a very obvious thing, and I recently read a Gartner study also, right, which states by 2027 most of the agentic AI, I think the number was 40% of the AI projects will not cross the POC stage, right? Because this is what you are also trying to ask, basically. So,
Yes.
yes, our organizations start with the promise, they do the POC, and I think I covered in part of it why that happens in the first question you asked. But from my experience, if I have to talk about the things which separate a successful organization to scale from the ones which are not able to, I would say one is the executive sponsorship with patience. When I say sponsorship with patience, it means they should be ready to. I mean, your senior leadership who should be there, not for quick wins, but should be willing to back the program even when things get complex or are not going as planned, right? Because and that is where the trust on the team and the value of AI delivering the right results in the long run comes, right? So it's like investing, and I often quote this, right? It's like investing in mutual funds regularly, no matter how the market fluctuations. As with the right strategy, I believe team and toolkits coming together, you will eventually reach your desired goal, right? So it's not that you back out, right? You say, oh, we failed the POC, let's not do any more pilots. So that's one. The second could be, as and I mentioned this in the beginning also, but a cross functional operating model. So when I say cross functional, you need to have your tech, business, and your transformation teams sitting together from the beginning when the designing of the plan and the delivery is happening, right? It should not be in occasionally you bring in certain teams, the application teams come in, they bring in their perspective. This is not feasible, the data is not ready, some of those challenges you keep hearing about, right? So that results in failed expectations and misalignment, because you believe in 2 months you will reach a stage where you will deliver tangible results, but eventually when you uh, get stuck with these challenges of data not being available, there is another transformation happening where a data lake is getting set up and stuff. uh, so you need to bring all of them in one place. And lastly, I think I again keep going back to this, but it's a culture change also, right? A cultural shift, it's not just a tech shift, right? So you need to educate people. There may be folks who have never heard how AI works or what it would mean for their role itself, right? So you need to bring in a kind of a program which socializes, evangelizes these kind of learnings to the organization, different teams, run those programs, create dashboards, create things which they easily understand, and then demystify AI for them, right? So that they feel empowered using those tools which you are building rather than being threatened by it, right? So I think those are the things which I personally would always want to do, and help the organization scale in the right way.
That is very well said. I mean, you said like the educational thing. We need to educate the entrepreneurs or the enterprises with the AI and the technological work. And I believe like you have worked extensively with the tools like RPA, OCR, and process mining. So, like, how do you see these evolving with the integration of Zen AI and agentic AI capabilities?
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful question, because as I am also constantly upskilling on this new tech, right? And I've been doing this for the last 7 8 years, if I may say, right? Uh, a, Gen AI came in, then suddenly last year agentic AI started, the wave started coming in, right? But I also often think of how these traditional technologies, right? Because I've worked in RPA space since 2016, almost 9 10 years, right? When UiPath, Automation Anywhere of the world started their journey. Um, and I think these will evolve, but I personally feel this as an extension of the capabilities rather than something which is totally divergent. Because, and let me explain this, right? Because see, now what did earlier RPA bots did, right? So they used to follow strict workflows. They had rule based judgment, no, sorry, no judgment based, rule based actions to follow, very scripted. Even if an application interface changes, anything changes, they used to fail. Now what Gen AI could do is, and it's basically your cognitive bots as we call them, right? They can interpret unstructured inputs, they can also draft responses, summarize some of those conversations for you. So things where RPA stopped, this things get picked, right? Or these technologies can get plugged in. And similarly for OCR, you mentioned OCR also, right? So for
Yes.
your LLMs, which are layered on top of your OCR systems, can understand the meaning, differentiate between say between vendor terms, or interpret handwritten or scanned notes from different invoices. And lastly, on process mining, I think I just covered that, but I recently attended one demo also for process mining. Celonis, they keep adding new features, right? So they have added a feature where you used to write queries, right? PQL queries to get the right insight from the data, because Celonis gives you a process map view, or the dashboards KPI views. Now it also, through Gen AI, you can ask questions, and it will give you where the bottleneck is, where the insights are, and you can use Gen AI to actually go beyond just the diagnostic and get to the root cause much faster. Because after diagnostic, you had to anyway sit with your business SMEs to get the validations done. Of course that will be required, because that contextualization has to be done, but you can at least know the areas where you want to focus through Gen AI. So I would say it's more complementary in nature, right? If I got your answer question right.
You absolutely answered my question.
Okay, okay.
Now you said like Gen AI is going beyond the diagnostics, and
Hmm.
here I would say like what role does data governance and the quality play in the success of AI-led transformation initiatives? Like, how can companies ensure that they set up for their success in this front?
Okay. So basically, you're saying the role of data governance, basically, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Uh, okay. So I think it's one of those things no one wants to talk about upfront until it becomes the most important point in the discussions with the leadership, right? And I have I've seen that journey myself. Most of the conversations where the challenges of building the right solution, or even building the right, I would say, one solution is the tech solution, but even if you are solving a business problem, you don't have data to actually quantify how much of an impact, even if you build a solution, will that have, right? Because you don't know what your current performance is, and that is where all the solutions which we talk about go to waste, right? So for me, data is the foundation. And you could have the best AI models, the flashiest of Gen AI co-pilots and agentic agents coming in, but if your data is outdated, fragmented, sitting in hundreds of your systems in the organization, outcomes will not be there, right? So, and you also ask, like, how can companies ensure they are set up for success, right? I mean, I think
Yes.
I
Yes.
that is the second part of it, right? So
Yes.
few things I want to ensure, I mean, the companies can ensure to achieve success probably is build a single source of truth as much as possible. I know it's very difficult to bring all the nomenclatures, the data tables across those systems together, because those are legacy systems, right? You will have to define each and every parameter, each and every data table nomenclature to bring it to and there will be different layers to it, right? You will have layers where you can get business access, that some of it from a cyber security standpoint you can't, you have to anonymize personal information, some of those things come in, right? So build a single source of truth, not let your data sit in silos. Define ownership. I think I can't repeat that again more often, I repeat it, but it's very important, right? Because at times everyone uses the data but nobody actually owns the data, right? So that becomes a big problem. And when you have all of this, build a very strong governance, which means there should be a very clear accountability, not just for the accuracy of data but for how the data flows. If the data input coming from X to Y system um, is failing, then what are the reasons, how can it evolve, what impact it will have on the downstream upstream systems. So those are the kind of conversations you need to have before you design your governance around it. So I think data governance is very very important, uh, in a nutshell.
That is very true. Because since the data governance is there, only ethical AI and lot of other ethical things are happening. So coming to that part, sir, how is the role of leadership evolving in this AI age? I think one of your writings you have also mentioned that generative AI is the Rubik's cube of your business, if I'm not wrong. So,
Yeah.
what competences do you think future transformation leaders must develop to stay ahead?
Yeah, and that Rubik's Cube article, I remember it was few months back, if I'm not wrong. Thanks for
Yeah, I
bringing
think
that up.
2024.
I
Yeah,
also had forgotten about it, but the idea there was, see, like you juggle a Rubik's Cube to fit the right pieces in the right fashion, in a very seamless way, they come together eventually. But it's actually that, right? Because you are juggling so many stakeholders, so many systems, and so many tech solutions also, right? So every day you read about a new solution coming up with a new capability. How do you know which is the right solution, which is the right solution for what problem, and then
yeah,
whether that solution can scale also, right? So that vision, having that vision is very important, but it becomes very difficult because you're thrown with the best in class POCs or pilots, which those organizations come and pitch you those solutions to you, right? So
yeah.
answering your question, the role of leadership today, right? And I love this question because this is evolving faster than most of us expected in the last 5 years. I myself have been on a learning spree, right? And the more I do, the better I can urge my team and leadership to press the pedal, to try a new tool. And right now we are trying a lot of like agentic solutions as well, right? So really really survive, right, you need to focus on, I think, if I have to, I will not try to repeat things, but if I have to pinpoint two things, they would be primarily: one, stay curious about emerging technologies, right? So when you read about industry use cases, learn the AI deployment design frameworks at a business level, right? Because you may not want to go at a level where you have a team who is doing the development part or the software engineering part of it, but you understand the basics to be able to converse with those teams, right? So have a tech fluency in your upskilling journey. When I say that, it's not about just reading or staying ahead of the curve, stay in the present, right? Because future you don't know how the solutions will evolve also. Or nobody knew that RPA, intelligent automation, Gen AI will grow so fast in the last 2 3 years itself, right? So that's one, have that tech fluency. And then I think storytelling is very important, because it's not just about showing the tools and coming back again to your Rubik cube example, right? It's not stitching those things together, but also how you are able to tell that story, and how you influence the right people in the room, right? And then empathy is I feel, because some of those roles get redundant through AI. Some of those roles evolve when these new solutions come in, right? So as a future leader, I personally feel you need to be empathetic and also be very very comforting to the team, right? New rules roles will evolve, right? So there are many reports, new roles will get created. So that's something I feel, those few points I would say.
Absolutely, I think whatever you said is very much important. Like staying curious, because daily one or the other updates are gonna happen in the AI industry every day. And storytelling, that's I believe like a very important part, even in the marketing, even in AI, wherever you go. I think storytelling should be very important thing. And so like here, I mean, you said like in the team spirit should be there and everything. So how do you align like your executive vision with this AI strategy, and what kind of a pitfalls should a entrepreneur or a startup owner or a person in the
Mhm.
team leading or something, they should avoid this alignment?
Okay, so one is how do you align your executive vision with the on ground, right? So
Yes,
basically how you make it implementable.
yes,
And then what
yes.
was the second part?
The like
The,
how if someone is interested, like if in the team growth in AI, or someone is learning and they're growing, how to
okay,
avoid the pitfalls, like.
okay, perfect. Yeah, got it. Okay. So I think, and it's a very relevant question again, but I think one of the biggest challenges in AI transformation is not the tech part of it; it's the translation part of it, right? Which you very succinctly brought in, right? So I feel translating this vision on ground becomes important, but transformation team per se is that crucial bridge, because business is business, tech is tech. So how do you bring them together is where, and I would say transformation team is that bridge which can help you uh, translate that vision into reality on ground. And when I say on ground, you need to spend a lot of time understanding how the process actually works, right? Across geographies, across systems, not how it looks on a PowerPoint, right? Everyone will talk about a happy path. Even a Celonis process explorer will give you a happy path, right? Business will
Yes,
say everything is fine. We are working to the best of the automations we have built, but there will be some things which, from your experience, you can decipher, you can identify, but also take them along, right? And when I say take them along, my suggestion is translate the KPIs, because at the end of the day you will have to measure the success when we put the solutions to test on ground, right? So translate those KPIs both ways. When basically let executives, sponsors, the leadership, the business talk in terms of how will that impact their revenue growth, what are the margins, what is the market share improvement, will these solutions bring in. But for the teams on ground, make it very very tangible, like in terms of how will that benefit their work, how they can solve exception scenarios faster, their SLAs will be met much faster, or sorry, faster as in they will be met as per the desired target or goals, right? And then and connect these dots, right? So define that north star vision, link your AI use cases outcomes to your business KPIs, and that's where the true alignment starts to happen. Did I answer or did I miss? There was one more, right? Pitfalls. Sorry. Yeah, pitfalls.
yeah.
I think. I mean, don't lead with that tech first thinking. That's. I think I covered that. And don't overlook, which is I keep repeating because it's very very crucial. You may have heard this 100 times already, but overlooking change management is the biggest pitfall, right? And most of the strategies, if not grounded, adopted, and followed with a very robust change management will not be successful. And don't assume things that one size will fit all, right? So a solution or a team you're working with in a supply chain or an HR, their way of doing things, adopting to those solutions will be very different. So those are the things you should not be ready to localize some of your solutions. If something is working in North America, I worked with clients across, right? So if something is working in North America, it doesn't mean a European counterpart of the same organization will also accept to that uh, change or the solution, right? So understand their cultural backgrounds and stuff before you. So those are the pitfalls you should avoid, and I think you will be good.
True, I think absolutely true. Out of curiosity, like one personal
Mhm.
question is like, you have
Sure. Yeah.
mentioned automation first, right? You have
Okay.
always said the automation first approach
Yeah.
to value realization and everything. So that, like, can you elaborate on how this mindset drives outcomes differently than the traditional tech first or the cost reduction approach? Like there will be this traditional tech first approaches and also the cost reduction approach. So what is the mindset that should have?
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah, I think I mean, I myself is a very automation first mindset which I bring in, right? Most of the conversations I have with business or anyone I'm talking to, I think how we can automate first. But yes, I mean, it's not that you fix a broken, I mean, sorry, automate a broken process. It's not that, but how you reduce the effort being spent, right? So I think traditionally, uh, most of the firms we worked with also, right, that the approach was tech first, right? So everyone wants this shiny object syndrome, if I may call it, right? Everyone wants to get on the bandwagon of RPA. Now everyone wants to do Gen AI, agentic, which is not bad, but you should not have that as the first point of thinking, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it started with let's implement RPA. We need a chatbot. We need to solve most of our queries through a chatbot, right? So those were the traditional approaches, right? And when I say traditional, it's not that it's gone, but I don't agree to that. And the second is the cost reduction mindset also, which I've seen a lot, right? Like people thinking FT savings, quick wins, often in isolation, right? So they don't think long term. And that was one point I highlighted in the beginning also, right? Where I said executive sponsorship, which is with patience, right? So you need to walk the talk through the journey. The leadership should be committed to that. Now, when I say automation first, so let me come to that quickly, right? It goes a little deeper because how what I feel is how you can redesign a process using automation as the foundation, not just as a quick fix, right? It should not be a band-aid approach. And it's about embedding those automations into your operations. When I say operations, you could run your citizen development programs, you could educate your business operations that okay, this will ease your work only. It's not we who are benefiting, right? It's not,
yeah,
we are not here for FT reduction. We are not here for just deploying RPA because our top down leadership is commanding it to do. So bring them on board with that sense of maturity, make them understand how will that benefit them. And why I shift why sorry why I advocate for this shift is because we should not ask where can we reduce costs. We should probably be asking where can automation unlock the time, help us be more insightful for the work we are doing, be more agile in the way operations is running. And that's where I think when I was working with ZS, right, we didn't just automate some of the tasks which the client's service operations team were doing. We actually integrated multiple solutions from RPA, Python, scripts, machine learning models, and redesign the whole flow of data and decisions for the digital, the data stewardship MDM teams we were working with, right? So that's how you basically build that view, and I think uh, that's my view of the automation first approach. If I may put it.
that's absolutely right. I mean, you have always mentioned in your profile and your writings and everything that automation first approach and everything.
Yeah.
Like also you have mentioned in our previous conversation, like in the pitfalls of the startup products, like some of them actually don't see the KPIs, proper KPIs and everything. So, in
Hmm,
your
yeah.
opinion, what's a most overlooked KPI when measuring the
Mhm.
success of AI transformation initiatives?
Okay, yeah, it's a tough question because there are a lot of stakeholders, and I mean people have I mean organizations are set up differently also, right? So for a legacy organization it could mean something else. For some startup kind of an organization it could be say accuracy is their KPI, which they want to hit a particular accuracy so that they serve their customers better. So maybe I think there could be multiple KPIs. Cost avoidance could be one. They don't revenue leakage is not happening at any point in the process, or FT reduction for the overall. I would say the cost reduction standpoint, right? They want to probably reduce the headcount. For me, I would say if I look at it. And don't get me wrong, those are all important ones, but in my experience the most overlooked, right, because you said some things which people mostly overlook, right, is probably speed to insight, right? And why I'm saying this is because I've worked in Celonis engagements. The faster you are able to identify the right opportunities, rather than going through those value stream mapping workshops, going through the journey of process mapping, customer journey or process journey, you could at least have an idea of where the bottlenecks lie, and then you move forward, right? So uh, it's when I say speed to insight, what I mean is how quickly are we moving from data to decision, how often is our, say, AI proactively helping us surface new value opportunities, and are we making the smarter decisions faster, right? So because in today's context and today's market, you are also in digital space, right? How
Yeah.
quickly are you able to translate some of the things you want to do and bring it to your audience or to the people you want to present, is the all the game in the market, right? And same is the with the product life cycle organizations also, right? How quickly an OpenAI came up last week. They launched their agent, right? OpenAI agent.
Yes. Yes.
And similarly, right, how quickly a Tesla can, and I'm a big Tesla fan, I
Yeah.
keep saying this often, but uh, Tesla can come up with their robo taxi, which they launched last month, delivered autonomously fully to a doorstep of a customer. So it's all about speed to insight to make those faster decisions and get the revenue faster, right? So yeah, sorry, I may have deviated a bit, but I think for me that is very very important in today's fast paced dynamic world, if I may put it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, as you have also mentioned in one of your writings,
Hmm.
like, disruption doesn't knock, it breaks the road. This actually fascinated me. It's actually real. Like,
Okay.
disruption actually doesn't knock the door, it breaks in. So,
And that's where
like,
most of
yeah,
these roles which we talk about, right, the agentic AI taking away most of the jobs, right, in the next
yes,
5 years, it's
yeah.
not wrong to say, because we are already seeing that happening in real life. And
Yeah.
maybe I can talk about, if people have questions we can talk about, but let you share or close your thoughts first.
Yeah, like, that was my question actually. Like, how do you see
Okay.
agentic AI changing the
Okay.
transformation roadmap over 3 to 5
Hmm.
years? Like you said, now
Yeah.
agentic AI is actually coming in and actually happening. So that was actually my
Right.
question.
Yeah. No, I think and it's pretty relevant in today's generation. It was relevant when computers also came in and stuff. But I think it's not just a next iteration of AI, if I may put it. If it's more, it's a whole new way of thinking about transformation, right? So because here is a solution. Here is, I don't know what should we call it. It's a transformation solution or an or a tech innovation. How do we put it? But it's basically the change. What I see is the process will become self-optimizing, right? So think of it like, instead of human led process reviews, We will have AI agents continuously monitoring, adjusting rules, thresholds, workflows. Anywhere you feel something which requires judgment, you just define the goals for those agents. If you understand AI agents are more goal based, you give them a target, you feed them with the right inputs, train them, it will be able to self optimize, self learn, and make those decisions for you, which a human can also do to an extent, right? Again, it's not AGI we are talking about, but they are moving in the right direction, right? So, and digital workers, if you think of it, right, they typically follow workflows, but when you have an AI agents, they will manage them. And I think imagine an agent that manages your projects, right? So think of PMO as a function, uh, not just pushing tasks, but resolving exceptions, negotiating deadlines, escalating only when needed. They know when what needs to be done, right? Because you have been guided by those agents, sorry, by humans to be trained in that fashion. So
Yeah,
all the project management tasks, things like that, could get disrupted totally, right? And then probably, if I'm just thinking if there's any other example, um, and the focus, I think, will shift from building those automations to governing the behavior rather than curating that knowledge and setting the guardrails for decision making, right? Because you need those controls. Even if you are removing a control from somewhere, you need to ensure that the agent is able to execute it, right? So if I think of it, that roadmap is not yet clear, but I would say it is getting clear, and in next 3 to 5 years all the things which are more reasoning based also will get eliminated. But that will always and only happen if you have well defined processes. Again, I'll go back to process, clean connected data, a very strong, I would say, governance framework, and human in the loop will remain, right? So uh, that is the answer to your question, I would say.
that is nice. But sir, like, what excites you? Like, what excites you most about this intersection
Okay.
of AI and business operations? I mean, you are
Yeah.
saying the automation first, and you are saying the
Mhm.
ownership fog you have already mentioned. So, what is this exciting part about intersection of AI and business
Yeah.
operations?
No, I think how things are going, and it's pretty exciting world for me, for everyone who is living today, because systems don't just follow instructions, right? But actually they learn to advise. I mean, they will listen to your advice, they will adapt and evolve. But what
Yeah.
excites me personally, I think from moving, and I have started my journey in consulting from the business process service, so the BPO kind of a setup, right? So from there, a typical cost centers, things are moving to more value creators, right? The old fashioned GBS of the world's global business services are moving to GCCs, where they are becoming innovation hub, and that interests me and excites me because, and I'll correlate it with agentic AI also, but a digital agent, think of it, right, who is not just there to support you, but it's auto filling your forms, validating the compliances, any process you look at, right, resolving those exceptions for you, even sending emails to your stakeholders or nudging them slightly to say you didn't respond to this task or you did not complete this task, all happening seamlessly, autonomously, right? You just need to deploy an agent and things will happen. So imagine, right? So it isn't it exciting if you're thinking of it sitting today, and this isn't what I'm saying 5 years away. We are already experimenting with this. I saw early signs during my Accenture days also. But beyond the tech, what is more important, it's what it means for people also, right? That we will spend less time firefighting, that, oh, I forgot to send that email. More time rather it will be more time on solving, creating, and building these, um, what do you say, frameworks to be able to better control these agents. Our time should be spent more on that, right? And I think we have 15 minutes, we can probably ask some questions also, rather
Yeah,
than
sure. Sure,
if
sure.
there
Like,
are.
we have a
Sorry.
couple of questions from our audience. So it's a
Perfect.
question
Great.
from Shamanta. She's asking, what role do you think AI will play in driving innovation and competitiveness in industries, and how can leaders harness its potential?
Okay. Uh, how do you think AI will play the role of driving innovation? Okay,
Yes.
nice. Okay, other way around, right? So it's not people who are driving. Okay, I saw this question now. And how can leaders harness its potential? So I think great question, Samantha, and thank you so much for joining and posting your query. I think when I think of AI, what it will do is it will push you to think differently, right? Because certain, and that's what I just mentioned, right? Your focus will shift from doing those regular run of the mill jobs to more creative thing, right? So as AI also evolves, right? AI will push you to be more creative. And when you become creative, you think about your customers, you think about how I can do this thing differently. And when you are asking this question, I assume AI will play a driving innovation is AI will give you solutions also, right? So when I say you are thinking of a product prototype or you are thinking of a minimum viable product for a or a solution you are or a process transformation solution you are thinking, AI can give you a view that okay, what is the market study? What are the things where this solution can be deployed? What are the right processes you can do start a POC or a pilot with? What kind of outcomes you could measure to determine whether that solution or competitiveness you are trying to create in the market is going to be successful for you. It can give you simulated scenarios, simulations can be run through AI. And when I say how can leaders harness, I think I answered it partially, but just to add
Yes.
one more point, leaders should use this tool very uh, judiciously, but at the same time be fearless about it also, right? They should not think too much about roles going away, right? Because if they think that AI is not their ally, but it's more of a threat to the organization, they will never accept that tool or bring that tool into the leadership conversations, right? So adopt, adapt, and then try to think of it as your ally and then use its potential, right? Potential could be anything. I'll not get into it because I mentioned some of that, how you can leverage some of that information through AI.
I think that's very nice. Said. Adopt, adapt, and try to be with the ally.
Yes.
That's very thing. I think you have answered wonderfully for that question. So the next question is from Sarath, and he asks, "Hi Abneet, what skills and qualities do you think will be essential for future leaders to succeed in AI-driven business environment?"
Okay. Yeah, I think we touched on this slightly, but I think if I have to put very clear qualities, don't fear away from AI, right? See, I am a mechanical engineer and then an MBA. I never did coding in my life, to be honest. But what I embraced is the change, and we all have heard of the phrase change is a constant, and we should evolve, we should upscale. But when you say what skills and qualities, I would say become tech fluent, right? So when you hear about AI, think of it as a problem solver. What are the challenges in your area of work, as a leader, if I may put it? What are the things, and I read a recently someone who is a like a 50-year-old person, a pharmacist, used an AI app, because now what will happen is, and why I say tech become tech fluent is, you should know what tools are there in the market, right? What a Copilot can do for you, what a Claude can do for you, what an OpenAI agent can do for you, what probably the different AI systems, the advanced OCR systems can do for you. So understand the dynamics, understand what problems you are trying to solve. Because as a leader, you may not want to know the how of it, but what benefits it will deliver for the organization. And when you become tech fluent, you understand these tools, technologies, you automatically will start thinking, okay, I know there are solutions in the market. Can I leverage that solution to maybe improve my bottom line? Now when you start digging, okay, the profit has to come from different zones. What are the core, the most common processes which account for say 50% of my market share? Can I focus on that particular process? What are the challenges in that process? Oh, I read about this tech solution which can solve my customer behavior. I read about a AI agent which can improve my customer satisfaction score if I make it a chatbot or something, right? So when you know those solutions well, just become aware of those technologies, right? They are off the shelf available. Some of them would be paid, some of them would be free, but understand what their capabilities are and then match them together with the problems you are trying to solve, and you will do just good, right? Don't need to worry too much about how do I learn Python scripting, how do I learn, because AWS's and Google GCPs of the world, they are already building those off the shelf stacks, right? And as these AI agents also get built, Microsoft is spending huge amount of money uh, building these agents for you, right? So you just pick up those agents and solve, but you need to know what to fit where, right? Okay.
Yes. So our next question is from Madhushri Menon, and she asks, if you had to bottle up the essence of your experience working with and building AI into one lessons that you would pass on, what would it be?
Okay, interesting question. I think when you look at it, a sense of your experience working with and building AI into one lesson. Okay. Hmm. Just let me think for a while. I feel eh, there could be multiple lessons, but you're saying uh, I would probably say again. I would maybe repeat this, but I would say don't fear um from the use of AI, right? Try your hands, get your hands dirty till you don't get yourself embedded in the actual way the AI functions, how the tool is benefiting individual use cases, or maybe at an enterprise level if you scaling. And see, a sense is, of course, be aware, be upskilled, be read more about how AI is transforming the work the teams are doing, and don't fear from a perspective that AI will replace humans because new roles will get created. But think of it as something which is able to help you solve those challenges, right? So one lesson again, closing this, it's a very I would say there's no one right answer to this, but my experience, what I've done is keep evolving with the changing times, right? So I may have started my journey, and that's why I want to relate it to. I started my journey with a typical process excellence mindset, doing your Lean Six Sigma projects, process excellence workshops, determining. Then RPA came in. I learned, okay, how can RPA benefit me? What I am already doing. So always try to relate to your experience and embed the knowledge of AI what you are gaining, and that is the lesson I would like to pass on, right, to the whole audience, that learn what is happening in the market, what is happening in the world, the new solutions are coming, and then basically try to map it to your own skill set. Never try to just go out and learn something which is totally out of the work which you are doing, because it's very difficult to justify at a personal level also, like why you are doing something. I mean, say AI can do 100 things, right? AI can create videos, content, digital marketing teams. I mean, I'm not saying this team does it, but I'm saying there are a lot of things which AI can do for you, right? But do you want to get into that content creation, digital video creation kind of work through AI? Maybe not, right? There would be a problem you are working on, or organization you're working with. Can and sorry, this is 30 seconds more, right? When I was working with ZS, right? I working with ZS with a particular team, I've solved a very minute problem through a very simple machine learning classification algorithm, right? But
Yeah.
I started thinking, right, that okay, this is something which can be solved. Is there a solution in the market? If not, I created 100 rows of data set myself, right? A dummy data, try to test that solution out, because solve a very small problem. That is the lesson. Don't go thinking that okay, I will build an end-to-end chatbot solution which will get deployed across 10 functions. Start small, but solve a problem. Okay, that's one lesson probably.
That's very interesting take. Start small.
Right.
I am like personally, I would also adapt for that too. So the
Yeah.
next question is like
Building
from
nice.
Adya. She's asking,
Adya,
what are
okay.
some key considerations for leaders when developing
Hmm.
an AI strategy for their organizations, and how can they
Yeah.
ensure alignment with the business goals?
Yeah, yeah. So I think alignment part varies from how and who is doing the AI strategy piece, and that could vary from the point that is it coming from a technology team or a business team. So that alignment depends on also because when you say how can they ensure alignment with business goals, that could mean different things to different folks. But what are the key considerations part I'll cover probably, and when I say considerations, I mean what are the things leaders need to look at when they are building that AI strategy. So I think, and I think some of these got covered during our conversation, Namrata, but
Yes.
probably I would say uh, think of data as your foundation, right? And I
Yeah.
can't repeat that more often than not. I have seen these challenges of right data not being available to build even the basics of a machine learning model. Let go of the chatbots and all, right? Because anything which is going in, and you all have heard, right, garbage in garbage out phrase. So if data is not correct, it's not clean. So have a very strong data foundation team, your data lake, your system teams embedded, and have the perfect operating model in place. When I say operating model, it's not about the ways of working, of course it is, but which teams you are bringing on board to build that strategy. Because even if you
Yes.
miss one team, right, and when I say which teams, data could be one, and there could be different names to different teams, but data, the application teams, right, how those systems are set up. Because if you're building a AI solution on top of those legacy applications, how feasible those are, right? And then the third team is your transformation team, because as I said, they are the bridge, right? They need, you need people who understand business and tech, some people like us who can actually solve the problem and build your AI strategy from a long term vision standpoint. And then probably your vendors, your tech partners, but whatever those teams are, have a very solid team structure in place. And have the third point is the governance should be there, right? How you evangelize, you socialize, you pass out communications to the teams to adapt to the new solution you are building. And if you do all of these together, right, maybe in phases, maybe as a strategic roadmap which you create, or a playbook you create to roll out AI strategy for the organization, you will do just good.
Sure. And
Okay.
that's a wrap of our session. Thank
Okay.
you, Abhineet.
Nice.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thought-provoking insights on automation first and AI approach. And we hope for the users it had left the fresh ideas and actionable strategies that they would implement in their daily life and also in their AI journey. Thank you all our attendees for joining us. Stay curious and follow Coastal 7 for more such inciting updates. Thank you everyone.
And appreciate everyone for your time. Thanks so much, Namrata, for your time as well. Take care. Bye.
Sure. Thank you.